In this video, we're going to go into motivation. And I have had two celebrity coaches do sessions for me on motivation. And I got to tell you, the results were underwhelming. That it wasn't until I learned what I'm sharing with you in this video that now I can consistently motivate myself. And so I'm going to share with you a way of thinking that will generate motivation for you. So before we do that, let's talk about what motivation is and really what it isn't. A lot of people seem to think that motivation is a trait, a personality trait, right? You are motivated or you're not. They think it's an identity or a personality, and it's not that. You aren't born motivated or unmotivated. It's not in the big five, okay? Motivation simply is the urge to act, to pursue something. And fundamentally, we experience motivation, that urge, in one of two ways. It's the old carrot and the stick, right? It's the urge to move towards what I want or away from what I don't. And the skill of this is in learning how to think in ways that create the urge. We're going to get more into that in a little bit here. But fundamentally, especially as someone who thought I was an undisciplined or an unmotivated or a procrastinator or whatever, the thing I want you to take home from this to really understand, procrastination, laziness, hesitation, those things are actually motivation, but directed in the wrong way. So procrastination, in order for me to procrastinate something, I have to think in a way that creates the urge of moving away from the thing itself. It's the urge to move. Again, let's say it's something I have to do for work, but I'm overwhelmed by it, or I think it's boring, or whatever it is. I'm thinking in a way that creates an away from motivation, and I move away from that experience. Your thinking is still producing motivation. It's just working against you, okay? Harnessing motivation is about taking back the automatic process of how you link emotions and thoughts together to create the impulse, so that you learn to refocus your mind in such a way where the internal representations or thoughts, you picture the way you talk to yourself, it creates the impulse to do the things that you actually want to be doing. And that can be something small, like let's say you're putting something off that you know you need to do, or when you really master this, because I'll give you the thing. For me, when I've started to do this deliberately, it's starting to turn into a habit and a skill to start doing this proactively. And suddenly, you start to become more and more and more and more motivated because you've learned to take back control of this thinking process. So, what is the thinking process? Okay, so to get a sense of what it's like, consider a couple of things where motivation is effortless for you, even if it's sitting on the couch to watch Netflix. Whatever your compulsion or your habit or the thing you're not supposed to do, but you do it anyway, those are great examples to learn how you motivate yourself. Chipotle. Let's talk about Chipotle, right? I imagine that burrito. I can see it. I can see that burrito. And it's golden. The light is bouncing off of it. It's so funny. The tinfoil is just wrapped perfectly around it. And I starting to salivate just thinking about it. Okay? The urge, the mental image created the urge to move forward. Right? And then I take that first bite. Oh, it's so good. Right? And then the little pockets of sour cream that are inside. Yeah. And then you start to go in and then you start to feel more and more satisfied the further you eat. Okay. This is how motivation for Chipotle happens. I am not a fan of sharks. So I'm the person at the beach who can go in the water and a seaweed crosses my leg, a seaweed. Okay. It feels like seaweed even, but it brings up the image in my mind of an 18-foot man-eating great white shark. I know the statistics. I know it's not logical. But the image of a gigantic boat-sized shark, okay, coming up has me fly to the shore. The urge to move away. Fly my butt to the shore. Okay? The power of the human nervous system to move away from and towards is constantly available to you based on the types of pictures you make in your mind, what you say and how you say to yourself, right? When I'm thinking about the Chipotle, I'm like, yeah, that burrito. I imagine that first bite and I go, and I get the feeling in my, that's my self-talk. That's my burrito self-talk, right? Okay. That shark, okay, I can feel my back starting to get prickly as I'm like wanting to jut forward. I'm in the water. I have a picture in my mind of a shark. Okay. Motivation is thinking in representations that generate the urge to move toward or away. Doing it deliberately means taking your goal, for example. Now, let's say I have an income goal for my business. I can think about that income goal, right? And I can see that dollar amount as I'm looking at my phone. Okay? I like it. All right? Now, as I'm seeing that, I feel some of the urge to move towards that. But now, what if I imagine the consequences of not having it? Oh, God, that sucks. That sucks. That was an immediate, I felt it in my body, move away from. Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm image cycling. Having it, not having it, having it. Okay, now I go again. And what we want to do here, and this is the key, you have to learn to make your internal world rich. Okay, no pun intended. Make the internal, so now I'm looking at that balance. And you know what's cool about that balance is that my bank account would not allow me to deposit that much money in 1 month. So that to me actually makes me feel really good. Having to go to the bank and say, guys, I'm afraid you're going to have to give me the big boss bank account now, right? I mean, how cool would it be to go to the bank and need a new type of bank account because you're making so much? Wouldn't that be great, right? So I'm making that picture. And I can feel myself wanting to move towards it. There's also, there's a whiteboard that I want, right? The Vibe whiteboard. It's $3,000 whiteboard. Ridiculous. I want it, right? And I see myself getting the whiteboard. Ooh, now I can make more YouTube videos, okay? And I want to travel more. Now I've got my whiteboard, I've got my camera, and I'm at a national park in a cabin with my whiteboard. And I can feel the urge to move towards it. I want this now, okay? And then I can think about not having it. The end of the month comes, oh God, that sucks. I hate that. I want that. I hate that. I want that. Right? And then I can go even further. I can say, okay, a year from now, right? What does this mean about what's going to happen a year from now? You image cycle back and forth, and you build up the internal representations until It's done. You will do the thing. There is no, I'm going in this direction. I will have that whiteboard, right? Okay. That is the process for how to build motivation. What do I want? Imagine it, picture it. You have to make it better. You have to become like you have to become like an editor in your mind of the movie and make it so that you want it. You have to practice the desire for. You have to practice wanting things, desiring things, moving towards what you want. And that's just with the internal reps, okay? Simple process to motivate yourself. Now, we have to apply it. We have to apply it. So then you start thinking, where am I going to start using this motivation? So in the morning, if I take a nice leisurely, this morning I went to hot yoga, awesome. Came back, got my hair cut, got to work around 1 o'clock. Benefits of having your own thing. You had the entire morning clear. Well, let's say I'm thinking about that whiteboard in the national park. And that could be end of January, or I could have not that. Now all of a sudden I'm looking at my morning a little bit differently. Now I'm looking at my morning like now's the time to get stuff done. Okay? So then once you've gotten things in such a way where it's snapped in, you want to start bringing that energy to the times and places in your life where you need it. And here's the thing to understand is that this is a practice. It's a skill set. It's something that you don't do once and then you are motivated. It's that you do this and you do this and you do this until it's as automatic for you as tying your shoes, so that you become the type of person who seems motivated to others because it's natural for you to make really cool, rich internal representations to move towards and to move away from. Now, let's go deeper. Let's do the advanced NLP stuff, okay? What I just told you will work. That will work for you really well. Let's get technical. Let's get nerdy. Let's turn on our NLP skills now. What we're describing here is propulsion system, okay? So we can have that moving towards and away from as a simple like motivation for an outcome, but we could keep embellishing it, right? Go further out into the future and then elicit towards and away from values, yeah? So I could, in addition to be moving towards a business outcome, rather than just moving towards outcomes now, we can create values to move towards. Disvalues, things I don't want to experience to move away from. And we can put these things on our timeline and create sliding anchors in the nervous system. This piece is for the advanced students. By the way, there's a checklist below, one with the simple version of this, which will work like gangbusters. Even for advanced NLP people, just do the simple version. It's enough. If you want to get a little sexy with it, you want to get a little custom auto mechanic with your ride here, then I have a checklist below as well for creating a really nice, flushed out propulsion system. Yeah. And you can download that as well. The first handful of people that download that, I'm going to help them do their propulsion system, install their motivation. I'm going to help them do that for free. So rush. Okay. Imagine yourself learning to motivate yourself and all the things, create the biggest, dopest internal representations, and imagine not getting it. Okay. And feel motivated. Go click the link. We can use sliding anchors. All right. And the other thing we can do is we can just keep layering good things to move towards and good things to move away, or bad things to move away. I'll give you an example. Michael Hall talked about the spirit of NLP. He kind of describes it as a propulsion system, that the moving towards of excellence, the moving away from mediocrity. I'm paraphrasing horribly here. But when you look at the way he describes being propelled to master NLP, the states and strategies that he stacks up, totally in love with something. When you think about, thank you, thumbs up thing. What's it like when you're totally in love with an activity or a hobby or a person? What it's like just being in love. Stack that with what it's like when you're having a ton of fun. When you're like, for me, on the back of a jet ski, just whipping that thing around, combine that, so you take loving something, having an absolute blast, right? And then the type of feeling intense desire that you would get from an all-out fetish, right? Like he uses this language, that type of really intense wanting, right? Combine that with going for something wholehearted. So what you do is you just keep stacking and stacking and stacking and making the towards better and better, right? And then what you do is you go through and you take the activities, the behaviors, right? And you attach and you layer in and you build out this exquisite system of feeling fan-fucking-tastic, okay? Of moving towards what you want. And then on the other hand, by the way, NLP is great examples of this. John Grinder himself said that he has a phobia of mediocrity. And he's not kidding. He's literally phobic of it. Phobic, intense fear. We could take that same fear of sharks that I was talking about, that feeling of like that. We could take the things that make you angry in this world, the things that you hate, the things that you will not tolerate, and we could build in such a powerful aversion to slacking off, to hesitating, to, indulging in limiting beliefs. Okay. And put these things together. Now, one of the caveats that I think you need to watch out for is that we want people to move away from the pain. We don't want people to get stuck in it. So the propulsion systems typically are an advanced strategy of NLP. It is not taught at practitioner level for good reason. So you have to know a little bit about what you're doing. The second thing to keep in mind is that the person should believe that things are possible. If you just stack and stack and stack and stack motivation, but they don't believe a shift can happen, then you're going to make them miserable. It's just going to break them. It's not a kind thing to do. If the belief that you can't have it is there, it's not possible for you to have what you want, and then you just stack desire and pain, it's kind of, it's not going to be a good time. Lastly, this is going to be very useful in session with clients. So for coaches out there, a lot of our clients come in with parts conflicts. The part of them that wants to change, and I'm using this, we could get into an elaborate debate about whether or not parts are real. Let's just say that sometimes clients will come in and they have a positive intent in keeping the problem, or they had one when they got it. You can leverage that positive intent into the propulsion system, and having the propulsion system in place creates congruence in the change. Milton, I don't think he said this verbatim, but he describes it in Hypnotherapy Volume 1. If motivation to change is there, and the belief that a person can change and will change is there, then the intervention, almost any intervention, will work for the client. Okay, so check out the checklist. All right, start. I was at a friend's place and I was playing with my internal representations, and she was looking at me like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just motivating myself. She's like, can you teach me how to do that? And I said, why are you asking? And she goes, because you're having more fun during your like morning ritual than I have in my life, right? Because as you start to like create those experiences of moving toward, like, I got to tell you, when I get that box with my vibe in it, open it up, the unboxing, when you get to the place where you can have a better time in your IRs than most people have throughout their day, this is how you create powerful motivation. You need to be able to imagine. You need to be able to imagine. It's okay. You could do it when you're a child. You will remember again. All right, guys, like, subscribe, hit the bell. First handful of people who download the checklist, I'm going to hook you up. We're going to create some powerful motivation together. In the meantime, keep keeping on.